Right. If we could only rewrite your life, that's the topic for today's conversation. We're on a journey here to uncover the secrets of living with F.A.V.O.R. And F.A.V.O.R is an acronym. It's the 5 keys that I used through my 40-year career in business to create fulfillment while running my own business. As I look back and reflect, I was trying to think, what are the things that were important to me? How did things show up? And so that's where I came up with this idea of F.A.V.O.R. F.A.V.O.R stands for faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. So the promise of this show is to introduce you to guest experts so you can ask the tough questions, figure out how you can live an independent, free life as a business owner. Yeah. There's a lot of work involved too, but as I bring in these guest experts, I want you to be able to tap into their wealth of knowledge. And so today's guest is going to be a fun conversation. But first, my name is Lisa Mosby, and I'm the show host. I'm the host of Living with F.A.V.O.R, and I'm here to fulfill my purpose, which is to advise, train, and come alongside with simple solutions for business owners. So I look forward to doing that for you sometime in the future. But today, we can get a little bit intense as we talk about the reboot, the rewrite of your life with our guest expert, the Fierce Christy Jade. Christy is a life coach, and as I got to know her, I realized she's wise beyond her years. She referenced this idea of rewriting your life in her coaching practice. So I had to bring her here so that she could share this idea with all of you. Welcome, Christy. Thanks for being with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure. I'm so excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah. We just connected through another woman. So I'm getting to know Christy along with you guys. We've only had a brief conversation, maybe spend an hour together through connections, networking connections. That's how we all do it these days. So, but she sparked my interest so quickly in just the short time as she was introducing herself, and we had a little bit of time to chat. So I'm really excited that you get to know her and how she went from being on the Discovery Channel, working in TV, to a stay-at-home mom, to now being a life coach and helping other people. But as we get into that, before we start that, Christy, everybody that comes on this show, I ask them, of those 5 principles, those are kind of the ones that I narrowed it down. If you caught them, F.A.V.O.R, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships, is there one that stands out to you in your practice? Like, how do you connect? And maybe it's more than one, but I'd love to know, like, what's your takeaway on those?
I mean, all of them, of course, they all fill my cup, and I could talk about all of them, but one that stands out for me is abundance. And especially since I have been in this line of work and helping women grow, I've always thought, abundance, when I'd hear it, it also often was related to wealth. It kind of has that stigma, but I quickly learned that part of recreating yourself is that abundance in each part of our lives, in health, in wealth. Yes, of course, especially as business people, we need to be making some profit there. In love, in healthy relationships, creating those relationships, in our faith, like you have faith there. There's all of these buckets where we can have true abundance, and I'm big on faith too. So it's having faith that we can create that abundance. And also something I do in my work and talk a lot about is, making sure that we realize we are worthy of this abundance, and God has created us not to suffer, but to have a purposeful life.
As we, before we get into rewriting our life, I want to talk a little bit about you. We learn from other people's stories. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper. You were at the Discovery Channel, moved into the stay-at-home mom position before becoming a life coach. Can you talk about that decision and the impact it made on your life, where you are today?
Yes. Yes. So my career was TV production. I loved it. It was wonderful. My husband and I made the decision to adopt a child from birth, and the birth mother actually asked if I would stay at home with the child for the first couple years. This was something I never imagined in my life. I had worked since I was 12. I was just like, hustler mentality. And I was like, stay at home momming. But that sounds like cool, because I had a single mom growing up, and there were times I was like, oh, it'd be nice if she was home more. I mean, she did an amazing job and I wouldn't change a thing, it's all part of our journey. But there were times I was like reflecting, well, okay, that could be cool, maybe for a few years and we'll see how that goes. And I don't know how to word it because it's such a balance of I loved being able to be there and be home, but as far as there was something missing still for me, and that's not everybody, but there are some of us that we can stay home, but I still wanted to have a purpose outside of motherhood. And I was doing MLMs and like reaching for anything to kind of fill this little void that I had of this, something just for me, that I've always needed. And so we adopted my daughter, that whole, she got a little older, started to go to preschool a couple days. And then we had moved to Virginia. We moved back to Maryland. So she was going to kindergarten. I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? So I actually hired a life coach, a career coach, because I'm like, well, what would fit my life now? And as she was helping me and I was discovering way more than just about the career, like I just was growing as a person in many ways. I was like, I want to help other women grow and realize that they have so much more power than they think in how they can recreate their life. So it's kind of by me going to this life coach, it sparked this whole like, wait, I want to do this on a whole different level, not just about careers, but just, really growing in faith in all of those abundant ways, right, that I mentioned. And that can include business. And every single person I've worked with, even if they were a stay-at-home mom, ended up starting some sort of business or getting into some sort of business. So
yeah, we are, it's moms are one of the hats that we wear, but we don't have to give up all of ourself for
yes.
our marriage or for our job or for our children. There has to be that fulfillment for each of us because it allows us to show up better when we feel fulfilled, when our cup is full. And the other thing that I'm really aware of, and that popped up with you and many of the guests here, is women need to serve. Women, the kind of everyone that I've interviewed so far and many of the people that we have coming on the show talk about how important it is for them to serve other people, to help other people, to support other women. It seems like it's in our DNA. It's probably why we raise kids, why we're the ones that usually
right.
stay at home with them. There's this built-in mechanism of service and caring and taking care of. And so when we can do that for each other, like you do in your business, like I am now stepping into in my business, supporting more business owners, encouraging women to get out there and do that wherever you at. If you're not feeling that fulfillment, how can you get that? Like, what are those details that you break it down? You talked about MLM or multi-level marketing. I ventured in that, and I'm actually going to make a list of all the different MLM companies that I was in and do a talk on this because
yes.
I think every single one of them have the potential to succeed. But it's where we join it. Like we join it for this because something's lacking. You said something was lacking,
yes.
so we went on this venture, and but yet we don't succeed. Many of us, the numbers are staggering on how many people join it, but they don't actually ever grow the business. So I want to have that conversation with somebody at some point. But for today, I'm going to let you touch on it just a little bit. What did you learn from that experience, even though you didn't continue to grow it or continue to build that business? What did you learn from that experience before you jumped into life coaching?
Yes. So through the MLM, I had a great time and I connected with a lot of people. And that was something I was missing as a kind of isolated stay-at-home mom, especially when they're really little. So it connected me to people, which was great. How it was set up and having to spend a certain amount a month, that whole dynamic just didn't sit right with me. And not saying it can't be for everybody, especially if you're doing great sales and you're using the products anyway, but that specifically for me, I didn't love that aspect. And also, it was kind of like I wanted to do something in a way that was totally mine. I'm a creative. I like to create. I like, and again, that could and does work for many people and they have that passion. I was like, I really want to serve kind of on a deeper level too. I've always been like called like the town therapist, or, you know, like I'm always helping in like that sort of way. And I just, when I went to my life coach and started talking to her, it was pulling out, well, what is really my deeper passion, you know? And I can love all those things. I did makeup. I did a couple, and actually three different MLMs for makeup. I love makeup. So I do makeup tutorials still. I do makeup on the side and just for fun. But I wanted my main source and my purpose to be more of, you know, helping women build confidence to do what they're meant to do, you know.
Interesting. I still am in an MLM, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I came from being a holistic health practitioner, being in business for a long time, having businesses, grown businesses, and I still love it. They provide all the products for me. I get to talk about health and wellness, and I know I have a good, clean product to direct people to. And
Yes.
so I find it hugely valuable, but I have not really introduced it to people to do as their business, because you know, I am a holistic practitioner. I was, you know, served people in a one-to-one capacity for over 15 years before I decided, yeah, I'm stressed out. I can't take on other people's problems. I need to move in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I sense that there's some of that as a coach, you know, learning to become a coach and being able to, you know, kind of put up that wall of this is their stuff, walking people through their stuff and helping them along that journey. You know, what I introduced saying that you're wise beyond your years. So here's your chance of sharing that wisdom. Like, what were the takeaways? Because you lived it. You walked through this journey with a coach, then became a life coach, and now you've been serving people in this capacity for quite some time. So can you kind of share with folks like more about that experience and that transition
Yes.
into life coaching? Yeah.
Yes. And it bled into, like I said, every aspect of life. It started out, oh, career, how do I, you know, do this? But really, I ended up really cutting toxic people out of my life. And this is something I really focus on now. I actually really specialize in narcissistic abuse. Not all of my clients have been through it, but that's a big piece of it.
Okay.
And so creating boundaries in your life is such a huge it's, you know, like the foundation of what I teach now, because without boundaries in any aspect of life, you cannot thrive, right? So it's setting the boundaries. Yes, with people, maybe you will have to disconnect from certain people or just, you know, kind of reshape the relationship with people. Boundaries within yourself, between your relationship with, you know, if you're in a job, that, you know, reevaluating things. And that's what we do right when clients start working with me. We do a whole evaluation. I call it the sparkle assessment, right? What's sparkling and what's not. I'm very gaudy. It's my whole theme. Sparkles gold, you know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
me. So everything's kind of based on that. But you know, what is lighting you up in life and what's not, and how can we do more of the sparkle and less of the things that are not bringing you that joy? We're always going to have things, you know, ebbs and flows in life. We're always going to have issues. We're going to have external things that we can't control. But what I realized through my own self, you know, self growth, was that we have so much more power. And yes, for me, I'm a God woman. So that is through God and listening to God and listening to those, you know, whispers or yells sometimes that we ignore. So truly listening and also getting in touch with your body has been huge. So I'm in meditation and yoga. It's really connecting to the present moment to be able to stop and actually listen instead of letting your mind take over everything, right? So it's really rebalancing your nervous system, especially if you have gone through trauma or abuse. That is shaken. That can be really destroyed. I mean, your mindset and your actual physical body. So it's kind of recalibrating everything so that, because we know, and I mean, I'm a firm believer of we know what we need to do. We just block ourselves. We keep ourselves from doing the things we want because it could be society, what we're supposed to be doing. You know, with social media, kind of comparing ourselves to other people and not listening to what is for me, what is my path. I'm not going to, you know, it's putting on those blinders and saying, what does God want me to do? So that's a big part of it. And boundaries is really like this kind of steering for me in my life and how I really guide my clients.
I heard you use the word recalibrating, and then we talked about the rewrite in our conversations previously. Can you share a few tidbits about that? What is that recalibrating, rewrite? We never start over because we always have life experience. So it's always a restart, recalibrating, rewrite. Talk to that a little bit. What does
Yes.
that mean?
So, and I call it soul care. It's all kind of in that bucket of the mindset work, cognitive behavior therapy. There's different things we can do. There's grounding work. So there's breath work. There's yin yoga is something. I'm actually a teacher for yin yoga. I do it virtually, but that is something that really can help you literally release energy, right? Stagnant, negative energy. And it's just a physical thing, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be all woo woo,
Right.
it
Yeah.
really is truly just, any form of exercise is a good release. Yin yoga, it goes into the deeper tissue and fascia, right? So it's this amazing, amazing practice. When I first did it, I truly felt release. And I even ended up tearing up and basically crying. I don't want to say that out loud, but I did.
Nothing wrong with crying. It helps to move it out.
Yes, it was such a beautiful release. So there's these physical things we can do, and getting out of your head and in your body. If you're not exercising every day, here's my number one thing. That sounds so simple, but many people get so stuck at the computer or lack of motivation, right? And I talk about tips of getting motivated to do these things. But if you're not really exercising in a way you love every day, that is something like start now. Because
Go move your body.
Move your body. Yeah. Get out of your head into your body. And we also talk about things like when you're having racing thoughts. A lot of us have anxiety, or especially after trauma. Getting rid of those thoughts, there's things you can do, like touching on the five senses. So I even do this with my 8-year-old daughter when she's a little stressed out. She's a little perfectionist. It's okay. Find something green in the room, right? And then it's like, smell. What can you distinctively smell anything? Listen, close your eyes and listen, find 3 sounds. So it's taking yourself again out of that cycle and redirecting, and touch is another one, obviously. So all the senses, and it brings you into the present moment in a calmer space. So these are just, some of the things we can learn to do, and having the accountability and the reminder. For me, that was something huge when I went through it with someone kind of guiding me. And I call them blueprints for my clients every week. All right, here's our blueprint for the week. And if something isn't working, we customize it to what will, right? Because everyone's different. Maybe not everybody wants to be a runner. Maybe you want to dance to 90s hip hop like I do.
Yeah. I'm an 80s girl, so I would be dancing, and I do dance to 80s music. Yeah. That's the only kind of exercise that exists in my world, is dancing, because I'm not a gym rat. Or a gym person.
Right. And you don't have to be.
Yep, I am not. And I find my way. I love walking, listening to books on tape, moving my body. I love biking and dancing. That's me.
I love that. Yeah.
So, yeah. And it does, when we are under stress, our body produces that hormone cortisol. And the number one way to move cortisol out of your body is to move it. Get out there and move your body. It helps to release stress. That's the number one. But these are all different kinds of tools. What I heard you say, you listed several different tools.
And those are physical. And then there's the mental as well, right?
The tools that you give people. So it only makes sense that there was one more tool that you created called But She Still Thrives.
Yes.
What is that? Tell our viewers about that.
That is my baby. That's my baby, my second child.
Yeah, it is.
I started a podcast called But Still She Thrives. And it was because I myself did go through narcissistic abuse, and I found a common thread through a lot of my clients was abuse. Maybe not all were narcissistic, but a high percentage of abuse is narcissistic abuse, right? More than you would think.
Define that. What does that word mean, in case our viewers don't know?
So yes, narcissism, and this is the thing, there's a difference between just someone who has a big ego, narcissism, and it's so hard to define in one sentence, but it's the tools they use, which are the negative, bad tools we don't like, to really create codependent, unhealthy relationships. And they use a lot of methods like gaslighting to really manipulate. So it's a very specific abuse, because there's this cycle of manipulation and triangulation is often used. That's where they will involve other people to get what they want through you. Or if you have disconnected.
Mental emotional is what I'm hearing, right? Mental emotional.
Yes. And often there can be physical, but
Oh.
yes, yes. A narcissist has a certain tendency in their mind and how they abuse that may be different from somebody else, but that does not limit them to that. There are other forms of abuse and physical abuse. A lot of them honestly can be violent. So it's not far-fetched to say, a good amount, and I don't have a percentage, but a good amount of them, do have violent tendencies. So
I wasn't aware of that.
they're very scary to disconnect from. And I work mostly with people who have disconnected or have someone maybe in their family they're trying to disconnect, like a sister or a parent or something. It's very, very tough. They don't make it easy to get away. So anyway, I created this podcast for women. And, some men do listen to it. My audience is mostly women, but to find peace and freedom after narcissistic abuse. So it's that recreation, and that I call it you 2.0. That's how I always reference, right? Like, you're still in there. You were created, and we're not going to erase your past. We can't forget the past, but what can we do now moving forward so you can thrive? My whole thing is, how can you still thrive? And you can. And when you go through abuse, sometimes you think, oh, this is just my life. I'm never going to be like up here because of what I've been through. And that's not true. I've been through it and I am thriving.
And I think that's where we bring in coaches. Everybody who succeeds, all of our business people in the world, they talk about their coaches, athletes, professional athletes, even our youth athletes have more and more private coaching, group coaching, all of these places where you can get the tools that you need, have a safe environment to discuss what's happening, and then that accountability piece. So you've created all of those. I know there's a Facebook page, there's a podcast page, there's one-to-one coaching. There's all of those avenues where people can get help and support. And so thank you for bringing attention to this. When you shared your story, I was like, I think we need to push this out there into the world and let people know that they're not alone and that there is hope, and then they can rewrite this. You don't have to start over. We never start over. We take our experiences, we become stronger, and we rewrite. We decide, what is the next chapter going to look like?
And I love that you said decide. Yes.
Yeah.
What do we decide? And that gives us that power back. What do I want? What do I want? Because for years, if you're in abuse, you may have been living under someone else's thumb, and now you get to decide.
Yeah. And so I'm curious what your next chapter looks like. And if you want to sprinkle in a little bit of what was the inspiration and the inspiration and confidence that you gleaned to be able to start your own business after having that experience, after having that trauma in your past. How did you get to where you are today? What was that bridge?
Yes. So I would say going through the life coaching and setting boundaries in my own life, truly major shift in mindset work, where I realized I am capable. I really had low self-esteem around business and all of that. I'm like, there's no way I can ever have my own business. That's not going to happen. I didn't feel good enough. There's this whole not good enough feeling. So I broke through that with, like I said, with all of that work, and it takes work, but it's not as long as you would think. It really can be accelerated especially with a coach. And so it inspired me to say, I realize how much power I have over my own life and through God. And, I pray and every day for him to show me my purpose today. And I want to help other women do that who have been through what I've been through. And my next chapter, honestly, day to day, like I said, I ask God, what is my job today? Let me reach the people I can. I really, truly just want to reach more people and learn more so I can help accelerate as quickly as I can to help women see what I see in them. It's like, I want these women to be able to see who they really are and to be able to start rewriting their story and go to their next chapter. So
beautifully said.
There's no specific next step other than I just want to reach more and learn more so I can help more.
Growth. It's always
Yeah.
about growth.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you don't get to have a fixed mindset. You have to have that growth
No.
mindset.
And I
about
love
everything
that,
that
right?
you're
That's a
doing.
good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I always like to throw in a little bit of a trick question at the end. And so
Yes.
the one that came to me during our conversation is, what do clients say about you?
What do clients say about me? I
Yeah.
actually asked one of my clients because I was going through my own little exercise for my coaching, and they said, well, what makes you stand out? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. You get all shy
Yeah,
about it.
you
You're like, I
do.
don't
Yeah.
know. So I asked one of my clients that's been on for a while, I said, well, what made you pick me? And she was like, you're so real. And she goes, and you are fierce, but you have compassion at the same time. And I feel like you see me. You truly see people and you want to help. You're in it. I am in it, and I give a lot with my clients. That's the only way I know how to be. And I've had business coaches say, oh, you shouldn't do an extra call if this, or you shouldn't write emails in between. You should charge more. I'm like, this is me, and this is who God wants me to be. So I'm in it with these women. And so I guess fierce compassion, and I'm in it with you.
Yes. And you have an offer for the ladies that are anyone who's watching the show today. What is that?
Yes. So for the next near future, I don't have an end date quite yet, but it won't be forever. So there is a limited time on it, but I am doing half off coaching because I do want to reach more women. So I'm doing half off. It's called the Journey to Peace. And I do that same blueprint thing. So we have a call, and I'm adding an extra call on the second week. Like I said, I like to give and check in. So it's one call, and then you get a follow-up call, email, blueprint in between. And that's only $97 for that. And it's a really good Kickstarter if you just need a boost and need some direction and some guidance.
And they can find that at christyjade.com, correct?
Well, I will so that's my website. This deal is not currently on there, so we will have a link in the show notes.
Show notes. Perfect.
Is that possible to have that there?
Yes, yes.
And or you can always email me for any questions or information at Fierce Mama. That's Fierce, FIERCE MAMAC @gmail.com. And if you want a direct link that way.
Perfect. Well, Fierce Mama, Miss Fierce Christy Jade, thank you so much for being the guest. Time always goes so fast.
Yes, it's been awesome. I love it.
But we can definitely go deeper. You have connections, find it in the show notes. Reach out to me if you can't find the connection for Christy, and I'll make sure that I make that happen for you. Get you connected. Thank you so much. On this journey together, we hope that people come here and they get a takeaway, that they get a little bit more knowledge to unleash who they are, a little confidence to discover what's unique about them so that they can become an expert at something and affect the women or the people in their lives, where they uncover these life experiences that we can go out and share with other people. So we hope today you had a takeaway. Again, my name is Lisa Mosby. I'm the host, and I want to thank you for letting me introduce you to my expert friends and share just a little bit of advice. I want you to experience joy and personal fulfillment running a successful business while creating a residual income. I am a business owner celebrating 40 years in business, and that's who I'm here to support. Is if you have those women who have ever had a desire to be independent, have their own financial freedom, and have income of their own, and I want you to do it as a residual source of income. If you want to talk about that, let's connect, look at what you're currently doing, how we can create residual income for you, and use some digital easy solutions to get you to that point. My team and I work to reduce struggles for business women, and that's what we want to do for you. So let's discuss it. You can book a time with me on my website, lisamosby.com, or on the Living with F.A.V.O.R website as well. The best part of Living with F.A.V.O.R is always the conversation after the show, where you get to engage with our guest experts. So if you can, join us at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. That's 9 Eastern time, where you can listen in. And then after the show, we have about 15 to 30 minutes of conversation, depending on how many guests we have, how many questions, how many viewers we have, and how many questions that we have. I want you to join. So that's the best part of the show. We hope we can see you next week, where we can share just a little bit of advice. Thanks for tuning in.